regarde là.
Everybody, so my name is Ashraf. I'm from Tunisia, and today I'll be talking about Arabic, the formal Arabic, not the one that we actually speak. So I've learned Arabic in school, and mainly in school, and we use it sometimes at home. I think that I should say if I'm ashamed for speaking Arabic. No, I'm not, and that's it.
So I'm Maëlig. I've learned Breton from school who teach Breton in immersion. So I did only teaching in Breton before this level. And I try to speak with people that I meet from my school and with my ex-teacher. But I can't speak it in my house because my parents do not speak it. And I'm never ashamed of speaking it because for me it's a diversity aspect. And I try to read a bit to level up my Breton.
My name is Özden and I speak Turkish. My parents come from Turkey. I was born in France. And I don't read too much in Turkish. I'm not into the literature side of Turkey, but I speak Turkish at home and with my family.
I'm Malek. I'm from Morocco, and I usually speak Arabic with my family and my friends, and I have learned it at when I was young.
Hello everyone, I'm Andres, and I was born in Venezuela and lived only 2 years there, and then I moved to Spain and lived 12 years there. So I spoke to Spanish every day with my classmates and all the people there. And now that I'm in France, I only speak with my friends and family, like WhatsApp and all that. I read and watch videos in Spanish, and I'm very proud of speaking Spanish.
I'm Jyotirmay. Today I'm going to be presenting one of the 28 languages in India. That's my mother tongue, which is Bengali, and I was born in Calcutta in West Bengal, the state.
So I will start with some specification about colors in Breton. So we describe, as in French, colors with adjectives or nouns to present in sentences. But we have some specification about some colors, like using glass when you are speaking about natures can mean blue, green, and sometimes gray, everything mixed. So glass is the color of the sea in Breton, and it is really represent in literature. But when it comes to human craft items, we use ware for green and glass for blue, specifically in this case.
Okay, now moving to Arabic. There are some sounds that are not available in any other languages, I think. So basically, for red, we say ahmar. I don't think that exists in languages. Blue is azraq. Liqab, I think that doesn't exist also. Black is aswad. White is abyad. I don't think it also exists. And the pink is word.
And akhdar is the green, and asfar is the yellow, and white is abyad. So green is the ramadi, and bunny, and orange is porcelain.
So in Turkish there are words for every colors. Kırmızı is red, and you notice that there isn't any dot on the eyes because there are two letters. So there's a if there's a dot on the I, it's E, as in French, and if down, it's a E. So Mavi is blue. I don't know why it looks gray. I think Mavi comes from Arabic languages. Yishin has a letter that is a bit different. The S with a CD under it is a sh. Sarı is yellow. Siyah is black, and beyaz is white. Turuncu is orange because the C is pronounced J. Mor is purple, but you can also say lacivert, and lacivert comes from Persian languages, I think. Then there's pembe for pink. Kahverengi is brown, and literally means the color of coffee. And gris.
So in Spanish, first I want to say that many countries speak Spanish, or not only Spain, and some countries in Latin America, but also a country in Africa that many people forget, and it's Guinea Equatorial. And for the colors, there are many that can change if it's a feminine or masculine noun, for example, rojo, roja, or blanco y blancas, but other that mainly come from objects like orange, rose, and the flower. They all come from yeah, they are invariable, they don't change it, and yeah, they come from the same. Then you can like, put some words together, a color with some words to make tonalities, like azul claro, that is light blue, or dark green, verde oscuro, yeah. And then also I want to say that in Spain, we say ordenador gris. Just in this example, gris is invariable, but I could have taken like rojo, ordenador rojo, and then in Latin America is computadora roja. And so depending on the country, the same object can have either a feminine or masculine color adjective. And then we have some expressions that use the colors, like ponerse rojo, to blush, like I'm doing right now, I think. And estar verde, when you are starting something new, like for example, when we got here in September, we were green, because we were like a plant going to grow at some point.
So for the numbers in Britain, we use a mix of 10 base number and 20 base number. For the 2, 3, and 4, there are two forms that I forgot to put the feminine form. So Dao is 2 for the masculine form, and we have Dieu for the feminine. Tri, Ter, Peva, Peter. But for others, there are only one form. After, as you can see, if I did good with the colors, we count as in French for 80, but we do the same with 20 base for 60 and 40. And nowadays we use per milliard, so 1 billion, but before it was only, it stopped at a million, and we use million for a milliard. But nowadays, with a huge number coming into a science aspect of the language, it's evolved. And we use also the half is enter part to create 50 enter counts, half of 100.
Half is Arabic.
No, it's 1,000.
Yeah, so half.
Half, oh yes.
Half is.
So basically in Arabic we'll only be focusing on the 10 first numbers because they're hard. Okay. First one is 1, which is واحد. 2 is اثنين. 3 is ثلاثة. 4 is أربعة. And 5 is خمسة.
And 6 is ستة, and 7 is سبعة, and 8 is ثمانية, and 9 is تسعة, and 10 is عشرة.
dots on them. I don't know why they're here. So this, iki, üç, beş, altı should not have a dot. 7, 8, 9, 10. Then for the dozens, it's 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 1000. And to create big numbers, you have to start at the biggest group of numbers. If you want to say 2000, then you'd say 2 and 1000, so ikibin. And like that, you start from the left to the right, and it multiplies on itself and adds. We say that it's agglutinative. Right? That's it.
In Spanish, it's quite simple. I think that from 1 to 19 or 20, most of the people can say. Then for 20 to 29, you take the 20 and you add E and the number, but all together in the same word. For example, 21, 22, 23, same structure until 29. When you reach 30, you change to 30, and then you add N, 1, 30, and 2, and so on until 99, and then you have 100, 100, 200, 300, and for large numbers you have a million, and then something that is different than in English is a billion. In million, it's a billion is 10 puissance 9, and a million is 10 power 12. Yeah, and the only number that changes depending on the gender is one thing, un objeto, una persona. Una persona is feminine, changes.
And for the demonstrative pronouns, so in Breton, for this, that, and that one, over there specifically, we use we use aimant, aimant. So also it's depend of the gender. Aînés, uner, éont, ouont. You might have some specific way to write them depending on the small country of Britain where you are, because it depends of the way that people transmitted the language. And for the plural, we use this little part of the word that we put at the end, and it creates what we want to express. Near the speaker, near the listener, or far from the two of them.
Moving to Arabic, one thing I forgot to mention is that we read from right to left, not from left to right. Okay, so for the demonstrative pronouns, we make the differentiation between masculine and feminine. So for this, we could say هذا or هذه, and for that we could say لك أو تلك.
And for here, we use هنا, and for there, we use هناك.
In Turkish, there are 3 types of demonstrative pronouns. Bu is when you're referring to something that is near you, that's something that you can touch. Shu is a little bit far, but it's still visible. And O is when you reference to something that is not here, like something that you've seen before. It is also worth noting that O is also the word that is used to reference people, because there aren't feminine or masculine pronouns in Turkish. Everyone is referenced with the O. And you have to put different suffixes to these 3 words depending on the sentence that you say.
OS, and then, for example, the building that is behind you is aquel edificio. It has some forms and in 2010 they removed the. They removed some axle, yeah, from the wall. So I never saw that. And then in Spain we say more aquí, allí, but in Latin America it's more acá, allá, and it's you mainly hear it in Argentina, but in almost every country in Latin America. But also I want to precise that people don't actually say acá or allá in Latin America. They just point with their legs like. That's how it is.
Well, yeah, since mine is at the end, I'm going to present everything together. So, first of all, let's go with the colors. So, white is called shada, black is called kalo, orange is called kamala, purple is called beguni, red is called lal, blue is called nil, green is called shobuj, yellow is called holud. And these are the numbers. So, for the numbers, for bigger numbers, of course, we can't match them together. You can't just use the first 10 digits to create more numbers. They all have traditional historical names they were given. For example, first let's do the first numbers. So 0 is shunno, 1 is ek, it's ak, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So these are the first 10 numbers. But then, for example, if you want to create the number 21, it's a bit of a combination. Like 21 is ekush, so it's 1 which is ek, but then again it's not the same pronunciation. It's not ak, it's ek, ekush, and then again it's a completely different name. But then example for 22, there's no use of these first 10 digits. It's baish, so 2 was dui, and we never use that word. So combination of letters numbers is not possible. And for bigger numbers such as 1,000, 100,000, and 10 million, we have hajar, lokho, koti, and anything beyond koti, we add the. For example, if you want to say more than 10 million, you say dash koti, which is like 10 to the power 8. So it goes on like that. So 10 dash koti, aksha koti, and hajar koti. But there's nothing bigger than the koti. So, okay. And there's some the demonstrative pronunciations. We have also 3 like all the other languages we discussed a bit. So we have a, which is right here. We can also say ekhane, which is practically right beside you. And then we have oi, which is like it's near to the listener and it's somewhat visible, but sometimes it can also not be visible. But it's like, for example, if you want to say that one, it's like oita, which means it could have been in the past, but it was somewhere near you and not really far away. And then shei is really far away, which you can't see, and you can, for example, the moon, sheita, you can, yeah. And these are some simple sentences, which is, for my language, you say amar naam, and for I love you, you say ami tomake bhalobashi, so bhalobashi is love, ami is I, and tomake is you. And then, I don't know, so you are a monkey, I said, to me, ekti bandor. So bandor is monkey, this is the letter and to me is thanks.
For this one you speak Arabic, you didn't mention how you compose numbers. How do you create a bit?
So basically, you can this is 100, you say mia, and if you want to add something, for example, 122, say mia, and 52, which is 10%. That's it.
For Turkish, you said that it doesn't exist pronouns for masculine or feminine people, but does exist a pronoun for object, or do you use O for everything?
No, so O is for objects and people, but if shubu is only for objects.
Okay.
So you spoke about if there is colors that don't exist in your language. Is there a color that you use in your language that aren't really used in French or English in any of your languages?
I would say that
Classic colors.
the glass color for the nature, in French we really do the distinction between green and blue. When you look at the sea, you will never see green sea, or if you are near Emerald Sea, I don't know, but and in Breton it is really used for description and for literature. And I know that a lot of poetry and representation use this word to focus on the fact that this is the color of nature, on what Britain look like.
We didn't talk about the tenses. Are the tenses difficult in your languages?
Because when you use a verb in Turkish, no, it's not. It's you mainly use suffixes in Turkish. Okay, you have your word, you have your verb, and they're together. And the problem I think in Turkish is that the tenses, they all look the same, but they all mean something different. And
In Bengali, it's also the same, it's always suffixes. So for example, if you want to say I love you, and then you have to say আমি ভালোবেসে ছিলাম. So ছিলাম is the part which says ed, so the past tense. That's all.
In Arabic, I'm pretty sure that there is only the past and I think the present and the future is the same thing. That's it. I'm not really sure. That's it.
يتكلمون اللغة العربية ولا الدارجة المغربية والدارجة التونسية؟ جزائري. أو كيف تقولوا اثنين؟ زوج. وين؟ اثنين؟ ما تقولوش زوج. وأنت عندك حاجة واحدة كلمة زعما طلع انا كي نعرف واحد جنسي يكتبوا برشا وحنا ما نعرف انا ما نعرفش برشا زعما المينا تاع برشا.
So should I respond in English? So basically, in the French, not French, Tunisian, Moroccan, and Algerian Arabic, we don't really speak the same language. And to say many in Arabic, in Tunisian, we say Barsha. Arab and French, so here, Barsha. In Algerian, I think we say Bizarre, that's it. Yeah. And yeah, Moroccan, same thing. But in Tunisia, we say Barsha. To say many, a lot. Many.
For each of you, what's your favorite word in the language? The one has a really specific way of sounding, something that has a different meaning even in French or you want to share?
So I would say it's Gwenoden. So it's a small space that you have between two fields. Because in Britain, before the big reunification of field, there was a lot of small producer of food, agriculture. And so between each field there was some little space with a tree surrounding the fields that helped to maintain the level and not for the just for the earth to go away. And so you have a lot of small passages where you can travel, and it's beautiful because you are under the tree. And in Britain we call it Gwenoden.
I don't have any like specific word, but I would say that I like a lot every word that you have to roll an R. Because it's very funny just to see people who don't know how to pronounce it, to say ferrocarril and other words like that.
I can say one word which is onushucho borono, which means basically it's a bit of you being guilty and sad. It's not my favorite word, it's just the most interesting word I think. So it's like a feeling in between, which is not described in any other language this well. So it's somewhat feeling guilty of your mistake and also feeling sad at the same time and expressing regret. Yeah.
My favorite word is us, because us means it means honesty, and it refers to an idea that is transcending and that goes beyond whatever. And so, as you know, my name is Usden, but Us also created other names. There's Usge, Uslem, Usden, Usjan, and I think it's very pretty how you have this very cool word given to many names. So yeah, so Usden means from honesty.
Arabic, or I'll be talking about more Tunisian because it's easier. We say Mrigal, which means alright. So for example, how are you doing, Mrigal? Do you want to go to the coffee, Mrigal? Want to go out, Mrigal? Yeah, that's it.
So for me, I don't have a specific noun, but I think that my name, which means an angel, I love my name.
Marcel a l'air drôle, là ça va être vraiment touchant, et content que toi Rocher aborigène, la craze
Ja, jag är väldigt content que la katon affronte à tout là.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Tu sais, je fais gagner un jeune parce que je suis par Suisse, pédier.
bah vous aurez dû mais alors là il doit en tracer mais.
Juste je fais gagner.
Okay. So in Britain we have a small specification is that sometimes the first letter of our word will change because of what is in front of it. So if I say a chair, so I will say just chair is cador. But if I want to say a chair, I will change the letter for it to be easier to speak. Gador. If I say cador, it's hard to pronounce. And so because Breton was really spoken before, it was really used and transmitted by speaking. So it was really made to be easier in comparison to it. But there are a lot of ways of, so this is Kemadieu to modify the first letter. We have 3 formats like before. We have soft, we have hard, to hard it, and we have by, I don't know, wisdom. Yes. So you need basically to learn all the way you can do it, because you can sometimes it can be predicted, but not in any time. And also not every letter changes. Here it changed because it is a K, but do I know them all? Some letters will not change. I think there are 6 or 7 letters that will change, depending of the K major. And when we count, so if you want to do a check to pay someone, you will say on the check, you will write Rennes, euro, at Rennes. So you need to do the franc is the 5, Rennes is the 30, and you need to do it every time that you write big numbers. If I put 100, I write compte euro at Rennes. And this is 100. I just need to put at the end the last things, the last part where you count in 10 base. So you need to be careful at it when you count object or you do a check.
Would you say that being fluent in another language, which sometimes is way different than French and English, is harder for you to speak or learn English or Spanish if you can speak it, or some kids, or you find it easier?
So for me, when I did my first call with Mr. Choma, I did a mistake and spoke some word in Breton. So the first part may be that you have a bit of confusion, but I think it's mainly due to me being a bit mixing every language. No, I would say it helps a lot to learn new language, because the more you practice some, the more you see the pattern between language and the ability that you have to create sentences. Because sometimes in French we create sentences every time in the same way, and when you speak also in French, you have a tonality that is really flattened, that is really I would say tired. So you don't speak in French with all your voice, you don't express yourself. And in Britain, our teacher were really making it important for us to speak loudly and use every tonality of this word. So no, for me it's really a bonus to speak another language, to learn English nowadays.
Well, for me, there's practically no confusion because, first of all, Bengali is my mother tongue, so I learned it very young, and then I was always brought up in an English school, and then finally French. So it's about to be my 4th language learning French, and it's too many languages to confuse now. I'm just used to it now.
In Spanish, I do have some problems. When I was learning French in school, and even now, well, there is some kind of language that was created because of people speaking wrongly, Fragnol, and it's just mixing French and Spanish and using like Spanish word but French side. And also happened with English, and Fragnol is very common. It's like everyone in Spain that speaks French confuses words. Like, it's almost impossible to not do that. And it still happens to me, even in English. For example, the other day I was talking about insulation, and in Spanish it's isolamiento, and I just mixed it, and I said isolated, and isolated is not the same thing. But I have those problems like almost every day.
I think it's a huge advantage to speak another language, especially a language that does not have the same logic of construction or even the meaning of words, because if you only know French and you want to learn English, at first you might tend to translate every word to mirror the translation. But especially when you speak it since a young age, you're more conscious of the difference in logic. And it's easier to accept another language's logic when you're learning another language. So it's just way. big advantages, I think.
So basically, I started speaking Arabic since I was born, I guess. And I learned French when I was around 7 years old, and then English when I was 9, something like that. I think it's really good to speak multiple languages because if you don't want others to understand, you could just speak another language. That's easier, I guess. That's it.
So, I have learned French when I was 6 years or yeah, and I have learned Arabic when I was child, and so it's good. I haven't had difficulty to talk both of languages.
I want to add that I think Malik said that since there are different meanings, there are different point of views in the world, languages really mirror that, and learning them, learning the real meaning behind the word adds to your adds to the way you can express yourself, and I think it's really important to learn languages because it develops to tolerance, and it shows how another thinking, another way is totally normal, and your way of thinking is not objective, just because you speak one language.
And similar to what Zen said, the languages show the differentiation, but also in some languages there's way more emotional expression. So for instance, in Bengali, in my language, I can express feelings way better than in English or in French. And also there's multiple Indian languages which come from Bengali, and yeah, so that helped me also learn Hindi, Bengali, Sanskrit.
In which language are you thinking? It's sometimes switch, or even your dreams. We come on. In which way you are talking to yourself?
For the dream, I was dreaming a bit in Britain when I was in the high school. Nowadays it's rare because it needs to be linked to a topic specifically that I studied in Britain. Same way when I'm thinking. For me, sometimes I think in Britain, but morely when I'm preparing something in Britain or learning something, because everyone around me speak French. So when I'm working here or on my homework, it will be more principally in French because of the way I've learned it. But when I was in school, everything was in Breton, so it was easier to directly think in Breton.
Well, for me, my thought process is sort of like, it's a bit of a picture, but then since my entire life I've been seeing everything in English, learning everything in English, and since Bengali has been like modernized to the point where, like, for example, you speak normally in a city, it's always Bengali plus the words in English so that people understand it better. So yeah, I think in both languages, but yeah, it depends.
Really depends on what I'm doing or who I'm speaking. For example, speaking to you now in English, I'm thinking in English. When I speak to some Spanish people, I'm thinking in Spanish. In French is the same. And in my dreams also, if I'm with someone that speaks French, I will speak in French.
I think I'm a mix of everything. As I said, so when you know more languages, the range of the way you express yourself is bigger. So just do however it feels right, however it feels true. That's the language I think in.
Again, when I try to learn, to learn something new or to practice it, it comes back really fast.
but you need to, if you really want to progress, to learn new words and to be able to express yourself on new subjects, it may be hard if you don't practice daily.
I have no issues in not remembering. It's just my mother tongue, so I can't really forget it. Also, yeah, that's pretty much it. And then, for example, in English, sometimes, right now it's a bit weird because sometimes I speak to too many French people, so I switch my accent a bit so it sounds natural to them. But then that's just that's just how I work. But I don't think that's a good idea either. But yeah.
I use all three languages like almost every day, so I don't think like I am losing knowledge or anything. However, I would say that when I'm far from home, I'm starting to lose the Spanish accent. I'm starting to get the Latin American one because I mainly speak to my family, which is Latin American. And but when I come back to Spain, just in 1 or 2 days, just speaking with Spanish people, I just get the accent again. And something that is quite funny is that when I got to Spain, I learned the accent in some months. And my mom, who is also from Latin America, from Chile and Venezuela, she hasn't like stopped talking with her famous accent. And I find a bit interesting because we both speak to like the same amount of people from Spain and Latin America every day, month, week.
I think speaking another language in another environment that doesn't speak the same language really shows. If you have family that lives in another country that does not speak French, and you speak French with them, you probably notice that their French is different, that their French has changed, because their French has adapted to the language they are swimming in. So the Turkish that I speak with my parents is way different than the one you hear when you're in Turkey. And it's also because my parents do not come from a big city in Turkey, so they have an accent, and the way the words are conjugated or the way you use them is different from big cities. So a Turk would understand me, but he know that I don't. I'm not Turkish.
So basically, I speak 3 languages on a daily basis. But for example, if I spend the whole day here in school, when I come back home and I have to speak to my parents, it would require me at least 2 minutes to remember how to speak fluently. So I would be speaking Arabic but in French accent, if you would, but then it's alright.
So for me, I don't have any issues because I talk with my family, with my parents, and with my friends in Arabic, so you can forget it.
I have a tiny quiz. I will say a few Turkish words, and then you have to translate them. So, bicyclette, géologie, rendez-vous. This one is a bit harder. Rouge. It's not red. It's rouge à lèvres.
Yes.
So there are a lot of French words in Turkish. I think there are like 5,600 French words, but these are mainly modern words. So people in the streets they will not use the French words, but it's like scientific words or very modern words, like autorité. Which is autorité.